let us discuss. The question for the esteemed panel, how did you grade Ben Johnson's debut as a coach in the Windy City? So I've got utility bill, the coasters, and hearse. And we will combine all of these things together, and we're going to make the Baba Ganoush. We're going to make it early. We're going to make the Baba Ganoush here early on. So my first thought here, as we connect all these things together, my first thought is, and I wrote this down, how do you grade Ben Johnson? Well, on the Maller report card, how do you grade his debut as coach of the Bears, Ben Johnson? The Maller report card, I wrote down, I didn't write down an A. I wrote down SOB. Now, not what you think. Not what you think. I wrote down same old Bears. That's what I wrote. You probably thought it meant something else. Same old Bears. That's right. They dominated for 3 quarters. We really dominated for 2 quarters defensively, part of a third, the big interception there. They did control the tempo. It was a low-scoring game. Minnesota could not get out of their own way. And yet, when it was time to finish the opponent off, the kill shot, and put them 6 feet under, what happened? Not good. Chicago decided to slide into their snuggie, the Bears there, and they went into hibernation mode, and it burned them. It burned them. Proof that there is no such thing as momentum. The Bears had all the momentum. Should have won the game. Minnesota had no momentum. Why would the Bears give up momentum? It makes no sense. Because it's not real, you dummies. Anyway, so the Chicago Bears hired Ben Johnson, who is on the pulse of, he's at the forefront of modern offensive NFL football. That was the selling point of Ben Johnson, right? Slick agent, the whole thing. And so there we go. Instead of the next gen, which is all the nerd rage, the next gen and all that, this was the dormant Bears. And it was a bear jamboree, a country bear jamboree here every time they had a chance. And there were multiple opportunities to deliver the knockout punch and just end the game. They tapped out. I can't do it. Cannot do it. Not going to happen. Instead, they landed some little jabs. They couldn't land the haymaker. Could not land the haymaker. And Ben Johnson's team pulling punches, which you generally don't want to see. Listen, I have no skin in the game. I'm not a Bears fan or anything like that, but the power went out, and they forgot to pay their utility bill. And they needed it most there late in the game. Just make 1 or 2 plays, you win the game, and they had nothing. So they forgot to pay the utility bill there at Soldier Field. The power went out. And this is not just a loss, mind you. This is 2 losses for the Chicago Bears, because not only do you lose at home, but you lose a divisional game in what figures to be a pretty close nip-and-tuck division. So now you've really lost 2 games, at home and in the division for the Bears. That's a double gut punch is what that is. And this is supposed to be the new Bears, right? The new Bears, all that crap that we read and heard about. Oh, it's going to be different now. Oh, yeah, it's going to be different. Okay. So the job was to protect home field advantage, Soldier Field. Instead, you hand the W to the Vikings. Because as much as we're going to rip the offense for the Chicago Bears, the defense also, what happened there to the Chicago Bears defense? I guess Dennis Allen's back to being a moron after he were really just kissing his ass on the TV broadcast. Oh, Dennis Allen's defense and all that stuff for 3 quarters. And then in the fourth, not so much.
That guy's a moron.
Yeah. Now, as for the inevitable, oh, what are you doing? It's only 1 game. Why do you have all these strong opinions after 1 game? You know, that crowd. Spoiler alert. Guess what? It's a daily talk show. I am asked to give my opinion as things unfold. They don't ask me to wait to the end of the year. I've told management, I said, listen, why don't you just pay me a lot of money? I'll have no opinions. I'll be boring. There's a lot of people that do this that are very boring, don't know a strong opinion, and I'll just do that and then just give me like a big bag of money at the end. I'll never get an opinion wrong. It'll be wonderful. It'll be glorious. It's great. But this is all we have to judge the Bears on. All we have is 1 game. 1 game to judge Ben Johnson on. And the other factor, and I noticed this watching the way the Bears were throwing the football around, like, the margin for error in that style of offense for Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears is razor thin. And it's a pass-happy offense. That's what they do. They incorporate the running game via short passes and all that stuff. But you're playing outdoors. You're not playing in a dome like you were with the Detroit Lions. You've got that wind from Lake Michigan swirling around. When it gets later in the year, it becomes a big problem. It's like a blender. It goes swirling around. You've got that to deal with. You've also got the occasional dormant weather, whether it's fog or snow, when you get late in the year, assuming you even have a mathematical chance of winning those games and having them mean something if you're the Chicago Bears, and you're struggling in September weather. And I mean, just you think about what's going to be like down the line in Chicago, and it's like, wow. And so that's why you can't call it progress. They lost the game. They rode the Vomit Comet, and they crashed it into the side of the building there. Man, it was bad. It was a piecemeal effort to close the game. Did they think they were going to play with a running clock or something like that? I don't know. Well, here's Ben Johnson, the man of the hour. Here is the coach of the Chicago football team pointing out the key to wins and losses. Take a listen.
Disappointing way to start the season there for us.
You think?
Have a 17-6 lead.
That's right. And
then see it go the way it did there in the fourth quarter. You know, we said going into week one that the team that would make the least number of mistakes would win the game, and unfortunately we were on the wrong side of that. We made too many there late in the game, myself included.
Yeah, so coaches always have to include themselves in that. You can never say it to the players. You always have to say, well, I'm part of that. Most coaches are like, well, no, I'm not. These are the idiots that screwed up. I didn't screw up. They screwed up. They effed up. I had a good game plan. They didn't listen. It's a bad job by them. So shame on them. The new shiny offense, right? Looked shiny for 10 of 10 to start the game for Caleb Williams, and then things started popping up that weren't supposed to pop up there. The Bears teased you. They gave some hope. There were people excited that, oh, this is great. Bears are going to get off to the 1-0 start, and then they pulled the rug right from underneath you. And Caleb Williams, his debut in the new offense, not a lot of fireworks for the balance of the game there. It was more like a sparkler. Not explosive, pyrotechnic. It was more of a sparkler, and it fizzled out before the game ended. Bad job by him. All right, now, secondly, speaking of that, wide-angle lens. Wide-angle lens. What did you make of Caleb Williams' maiden voyage as the new Chicago Bears offense gets put into place? So what did you think? So it was a tune that topped the Hot 100 back in the day from the Coasters called Yakety Yak. And the song goes, Yakety Yak, don't talk back. In this case, it was Yakety Yak, don't fight back. That's the Bears. They had the lead. The Vikings said, we want this. The Vikings took it, and the Bears were like, what? That's what they did. And Caleb Williams, it turns out he's multitasking. He's actually moonlighting Caleb Williams as an elevator operator. I know they don't have many of those left. I know if you go down to the Hotel Del Coronado there in San Diego, they have elevator operators. And so he was leaving the elevator door open. He hit the button that says leave doors open, and he left it wide open. He said, come on in, Minnesota Vikings. I'll give you a ride right to the penthouse where they're serving W's. You can have one. Knock yourself out. So here is Caleb Williams, a man that always has the best-looking nails on the football field, and here is him talking about a bunch of gibberish about this, that, and the other thing. Mentality. We'll take a listen.
That mentality is something we have, something that we preach, and that
how's that working
today.
out? Yeah.
And I'm not. It's not a play call thing. It's not anything like that. It's just being able to go out there and execute the plays that are called. And be able to, execute them at a high level. And that's something that we take pride in. And today that didn't happen, and we're going to get back to it.
The good news is Caleb went out. He found an all-night parlor. He got a mani and a pedi after the game. So he's feeling a little depressed, but he got the mani and the pedi, so he's in good shape. All right, now, how bad was Caleb to allow the Vikings to come back, right? Because you can't just come back and win a game unless the other team sucks. Remember, we talked about this in the Sunday night game where the Bills cannot mathematically come back without the fumble, bug on the rug by Derrick Henry. Well, in this game, it was just consistent suck in the second and third quarters where the Bears had opportunities. We talked about that to close the game out. For example, I went back, I did the Maller math. In the second and third quarter, Caleb Williams attempted 17 passes. He completed less than 50% of them. He averaged less than 5 yards per attempt. He was horrible. And so what was missing? Well, after a minutes-long deliberation on the difference between the offense the Lions had with Ben Johnson and the offense we saw from the Chicago Bears, the thing that was missing, the secret sauce for Ben Johnson and the Lions, was the yards after the catch, the yakety yak. And they didn't have that, right? Detroit would turn, and they still do it. They didn't do it much against Green Bay, but they'll turn those little swing passes and the big, chunky peanut butter plays and all that good stuff. Stick to your mouth kind of peanut butter, hard to defend. The Bears, now they did have a couple of big plays, but not enough, and more smooth peanut butter, creamy, easy to swallow, and no bite. There's really no bite to it, and a few extra yards, but it was mostly catch and crash is what it was. All right, now, final thought. So we go now to the winning locker room, where it looked pretty bleak. It looked pretty bleak for a long stretch of time, but in the end, the Minnesota Vikings came back, and so give me your reaction to J.J. McCarthy in his first start with the Vikings. Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty on the first go-round of J.J. McCarthy? So what a juxtaposition. Why don't we start with that? What a juxtaposition. Because the first 3 quarters of this game, I was texting some friends, and we were going back and forth. I said, wow, this is one of the worst performances I can remember. Like, this guy looks like he'd never played football before. Holy crap. You could literally see him urinating down his leg. It was wild. And so you go from that, where he was having a nice meal at the Shakey's Pizza Parlor, and, just the sticky floors, kind of the low-quality pizza, the Mojo potatoes, and the pitcher of flat soda, had all that going for him. And he's just sitting there, not even close to looking like he knows what he's doing as an NFL quarterback. It's like, wow. It was like he was living in Pukesville. And how bad was he? I'm glad you asked. So the first 3 quarters of an NFL game, J.J. McCarthy was at 7 of 12 passing, which is not good. Averaged less than 5 yards per pass attempt, had 56 total yards passing through 3 quarters of the game. 1 interception that was a pick 6 to give the Chicago Bears an extra score. A passer rating of 35.4 going to the fourth quarter. That was the passer rating. So that means that they being the Minnesota Vikings, would have been better off calling up a hearse and holding a mock funeral procession for the Duke and burying the Duke, putting the Duke down in the ground, right? And then just ordering some tombstone pizza, and that's it. See you later. Because the fun fact, and we will use this from time to time, if McCarthy had just spiked the ball every single time he had snapped the ball, if he'd spiked the ball every single time into the ground, his passer rating would have been 39.6. Statistically, he was actually worse by attempting to pass than if he had not passed. And it wasn't just bad, it was historical bad for McCarthy for 3 quarters. Like, it was worse than just don't screw up, just kind of be a game manager. That's the baseline. Like, the Vikings essentially played 3 quarters of an NFL game with a mannequin at quarterback. That's what they had. And it didn't matter. The Bears still left the door open. We talked about this. Caleb Williams leaving the door open, the opportunity there. And they took advantage of it. Now, Kevin O'Connell is the Viking head coach. I'm sure he's not going to say anything negative about the first 3 quarters of J.J. McCarthy. Instead, we'll focus on the end of the game. Is that correct, Coach?
J.J. McCarthy, for him to make some of the plays he did, I told him at halftime, you are going to bring us back to win this game. And the look in his eye was fantastic. And the best thing is just the belief I felt from the team, the unit. And ultimately, that doesn't get done without him in the second half. 2 passing touchdowns and then the critical rushing touchdown.
You smell that? Yeah. Bullcrap. That is bullcrap. That is hot bullcrap by Kevin O'Connell. Holy crap. What a dummy. I told him. Yeah, is that why he went out after halftime and threw a pick six in the third quarter? Is that why, Coach? Because you told him, let's make it even worse. Let's dig a bigger hole. Why not? Why not? Oh, man. Well, he did light it up in the fourth quarter, but man alive. It was like a cheat code there late, but the first three quarters, whew, Greek tragedy goes from, we talk about a rewrite, it goes from a Greek tragedy where everyone's dead, the stage is covered in blood, to a Shakespearean comedy, all's well that ends well, just like that there. Now, unfortunately, there is a problem. You cannot just live like that in the NFL. Obviously, right, you can't stink for 45 minutes and then expect to play Superman in the fourth quarter. That generally doesn't happen. It's not Disneyland. It's not like that, and it's not sustainable. So good luck. We'll give them credit for the comeback. A hell of a rally there for the Vikings to come back and win it, but the narrative, I'm sure, will be praising J.J. McCarthy and how great he was and the resiliency and all that stuff. And to me, though, you cannot ignore the first three quarters of the game, that he was at the salad bar and he was serving up suck salad. And that's what it was. So that's a bit of a reality check, I would think. He's a rookie. So, yeah, there's going to be some bumps in the road and all that. But, man, the Vikings, if that's the way it's going to go, you talk about a roller coaster situation. Holy cannoli.